Hey, what is up, everybody? This is your boy AJTRIP, and welcome to That to Shoot. It's an early version because today, on this exact day, 25 years ago, it was the last Monday Night Raw and Monday Night Nitro, an end of an era in professional wrestling and an end of an era in the Monday Night Wars. It was, to say the least, an insane thing to understand, because what had happened was, and what it around was, is that, earlier this week, the 23rd, there was a celebration of not celebration, but the anniversary of night WCW being sold to Vince. And allegedly, it was sold for like $2.5 million or something like that. $5 million. It was something insane. You think about when WWE sold to TKO or Endeavor and how much they paid for it, and then how much WWE, didn't pay for WCW. It's insane. As I said, even with inflation, I don't think WCW gets up to a quarter of that. If they were still around this year, So when they're around when Vince was a salesman. So yeah, and by the way, don't mind the band-aid on my head. Randy Orton's been going crazy, busting up people open in the head, so he busted me open, so that's totally fine. No, but it's just a shaving accident, so that's neither here nor there. No, it looks weird, but it's yeah. Sometimes when you're balding and you take a razor to yourself, to shave, you cut yourself. So then once I cut my forehead, I said, nope, not doing nothing else. Not doing nothing else. And what it was I had a gout flare in my left hand, and I couldn't hold the thing correctly. So that's on me. I should have waited until the gout flare was gone. That's on me. My bad. E1 on your boy. With baseball happening, E1 on your boy. But let's get back to what we're here. The 25th anniversary of the last Monday Night Nitro. Like I said, earlier this week on Monday, it was the 25th anniversary of WCW being sold, and when you heard about that, you couldn't believe it. You couldn't believe that the fact that you knew that they were going to be selling to somebody, but you just didn't know that it was going to be WWE, and WWE had bought them out. The weekend of a lot of things, and you just couldn't wait to see what was going to be the deal come Monday. And that Monday, it was something that nobody had ever expected to see before. Nobody had ever expected to see before. I believe it was still Nitro was still 3 hours, and Raw was only 2 hours. So Nitro came on first, which I thought was absolutely perfect. I got a few things here to read. So let's go here. This is something from the ProWrestlingFandom.com. The March 26, 2001 edition of WCW Monday Nitro, the Night of Champions, was held at the Boardwalk Beach Resort in Panama City, Florida. It was the last ever WCW Nitro to be held by World Championship Wrestling. Vince McMahon appeared to open the broadcast in a pre-tape backstage segment from Cleveland, Ohio, the site of that night's WWE Raw's War, in which he announced he had bought World Championship Wrestling and would address WCW fans and wrestlers later in the show during a simulcast on both TNN and TNT networks. At the end of the night, the live simulcast of Raw and Nitro began, in which Vince cut an in-ring promo about his purchase of WCW. He said the sale from Time Warner would be the final at WrestleMania X7. And man, then discussed his upcoming match against his son Shane McMahon, and said he would do to Shane what he did to WCW. He then said he could put WCW on the shelf and run it as a media conglomerate, which is what he kind of did, basically. Like WWF, and listed several WCW stars to see if the crowd thought he should be bringing them to the World Wrestling Federation of the WWF. This was strange, but he would say, Hulk Hogan, yay or nay, Lex Luger, Buff Bagwell, Bridget G, Seth Steiner, Sting, Goldberg. Goldberg received the biggest response, with Bagwell and Booker and Steiner close behind. 1 week later, excuse me. Let me take a sip of water. Moments later, Shane McMahon walked to the ring on Nitro in Panama City Beach, Florida. It said the deal with WCW was finalized, but it was Shane's McMahon, not Vince's name, of the contract, and Shane was not the owner of WCW. Shane did said he would beat Vince at WrestleMania, just like WCW used to beat the WWF in the Monday Night Raw. It was insane to see like this. There were a lot of people that were hoping that this was actually really true, and Shane was really going to, do WCW, because they didn't want Vince to have the monopoly. They wanted to have another wrestling organization to go up against Vince, and the fans have been wanting that for years. They tried to help TNA be that thing, but TNA just wouldn't keep his foot, wouldn't keep their foot out of their mouth or their foot out of their ass. They also tried to they continue to try to do it right now with AEW. And like, you can't sit up here and tell me that they aren't, the fans aren't looking at WCW and looking at AEW, looking at that and really truly believing that garbage is better than what you see on WWE. You can like what you like, I guess, but like, to sit there and watch another man stick a hypodermic needle through the other man's mouth, out his cheek, and they start pushing things that the water would spit. You enjoy seeing that? You can't. So they're trying to make an AEW something so that AEW will be real competition to WWE, but it's never going to be real competition as long as they keep doing the shit that they are doing. And even if they stop and they try to go down and try to be more than the WWE route, they're still not going to do it, because WWE get 60-70 year advantage on AEW. At least WCW came from like Jimmy Crockett Promotions and the NWA, and they had a long legacy, just as long as the WWF had. So I think that's very strange. Let's look at some of the results. Booker T defeated Scott Steiner to retain the United States Heavyweight Championship and win the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. He was a double champion. Mysterio and Kidman defeat Shane Moore and Evan Courageous, and Cash, Asayi, and Yang in a three-way tag team match become the #1 contenders for the WCW Cruiserweight Tag Team Championships, which they completely left whatever it was. Yeah, they did not bring the Cruiserweight Tag Team Championships with them to, WWF. Shane Helms defeated Chavo Jr. to retain the WCW Cruiserweight Championship. They did have that. Sean O'Haire, Chuck Palumbo defeated Lance Storm and Mike Austin to retain the WCW Tag Team Championships, which they brought along with them. Sean Stasiak defeated Bam Bam Bigelow in 1 minute 25 seconds. That's interesting. Rey Mysterio and Billy Kidman defeated Elite Skipper and Kid Romeo to win the WCW Cruiserweight Tag Team Champion. So that was that. And then Sting defeated Ric Flair. Now, the thing you look at this match, all these matches that they had, right? The dual belt match, title for title match, 5 minutes 11 seconds. The triple threat tag match for the number one contendership, 3 minutes 40 seconds. Shane Helms, Chavo Guerrero, 4 minutes 39 seconds. Chuck Palumbo, Lance Storm, Mike Austin, 3 minutes 23 seconds. Stasiak over Bigelow, 1 minute 25. And Mysterio versus Kidman, 4:43. And the longest match they gave Sting and Ric Flair, 7:19. So I can't remember those things. I can't remember what it is. I would love to go back and to watch that show in full. Watch that show in full. There are going to be a lot of people online on the internet that are going to be doing their kind of retrospectives of what is going of this year and what's going to happen. I know they are. I know I'm doing it. But I think what I want to do. What I want to do is I do at some point, if I can get the time, I want to watch something from this year. I want to watch something from 25 years ago, and watch it and kind of, maybe review it or something like that. See if I can work it out. Maybe I can, do it to where, it's, maybe if I can have it on screen and block it or something like that. I don't know. But, but I want to do something for this, that would be interesting. But yeah, this was in the same night. There's some other things up here. So this is from Anthony Mango. This is from E-Wrestling News. It says 25 years since WCW's final Nitro show. What was your reaction? Question of the day. So he asks the question, he answers. He says, unfortunately, I wasn't even watching at the time. Toward the latter end of 1999, I was getting annoyed with the product. By the 2000 Royal Rumble, I had been checking out of Raw, slowly but surely, just ceasing to watch in general before even WrestleMania had taken place. When March 2001 rolled along, I was far busier occupying my interest with other things and navigating middle school with all its ups and downs. By proxy, some friends of mine who still did watch, they brought it up to me the next day in the cafeteria during lunch, and I was flabbergasted. For years, I had been hoping there would be a crossover between WWF and WCW, and it happens now, and I'm not watching it. You'd think that would be enough to make me at least dip my toes back into watching the product, but the sentiment from our friends was that it was lame, and not at all actually playing out like the fantasy booking scenario we had always wanted. After all, WCW had been the peak of the NWO for a while, and The Undertaker was a biker, which I just thought was hearsay. I don't know. I'm still not a fan of it, by the way. Plus, none of that factored into WrestleMania. Naturally, I look back now and see that wouldn't have made any sense for it to be working out any differently. But as a kid back then who was out of the loop, I just wrote it off as, yeah, I'll keep passing on WWF in the overall. That continued as months went on, where I would hear relatively nothing from anyone about the storyline. Surely, if it was good, they would be raving about it, right? But no one did, so I had to assume it was garbage, and that I was missing out on for not watching. I would go on not to pay any attention to what was happening in WWF, turned WWE for a few more years up until around 2005-2006. So I missed the entirety of the Invasion storyline and can only experience it through hindsight lens. From what I've seen, I sure would have enjoyed some elements of it on a weekly basis, but I would have been more frustrated than a fan of it. I probably would be in the collective agreement that it wasn't all that good. However, I would love to go back in time and be watching for the initial announcement to experience that moment in history live. I would feel like that would be a cool memory to build at the time with a number of iconic moments, some of which I was lucky enough to see live, and others I had missed out on. If I had been watching Monday night, I probably would have been going to school the next morning pitching ideas of how ECW would be next with Stephanie McMahon controlling it, leading to some triple threat thing for Survivor Series and all sorts of big names like Goldberg, Sting to be involved, only to watch things like Buff Bagwell's immediate firing happening to throw me off. So he goes, what was your reaction? So here is, and I kind of said it, but here's what my reaction was. I was kind of shocked that it happened. It was cool to see Vince on both shows. It was cool to see Vince actually kind of, shoot on some people. When he opened Monday Night Raw, he was talking about Jeff Jarrett, and he was saying he's G O N E gone. They had some really tension dating back to 1999, I think it was 1999, when Jeff left the company and kind of held up Vince for some money that apparently Vince did owe him, but he said he wasn't going to do the show with China without that money up front, and so Vince had to pay it off. And then Vince didn't like it. Vince had never liked to be outmaneuvered and outgunned in the wrestling business. So for years he had that thing on Jeff until Jeff needed some help with some issues, and they sent him to rehab, and then when he got out, put him in the Hall of Fame like he deserved. Okay, so let's see. We got this. There's some other things here. Alright. Let's talk about here some stuff here. The significance. The final Nitro served both as a farewell to WCW and a celebration of his legacy, featuring interviews with wrestlers reflecting on the sale and the company's history. It marked the end of WCW programming on TNT, which would not return until AEW Dynamite premiered in 2019. That should not be WCW. It marked the end of wrestling programming, not WCW, because WWE still owns WCW. The episode is remembered for its historic moments, including the symbolic passing of WWC stars to WWF and the respectful closure of long-standing rivalries. The legacy. The last Nitro is often cited as a pivotal moment in professional wrestling history, symbolizing the conclusion of the Monday Night War and the consolidation of major wrestling promotions under WWE/WWF. It remains a significant event for fans, with behind-the-scenes footage and ultimate camera angles available for viewing, highlighting the final appearances of the iconic WCWs like Sting, Ric Flair, Booker T, and Goldberg. And I don't even think Goldberg was on the show. I can't remember. So, yeah, see, and like, there is that. There is a lot of things that you can talk about today. And it's amazing. It really is. We've got some history this year, some 25-year history next year. Next Wednesday it is. So let's see. I wrote this all down, so I'm gonna do all of this. So next Wednesday we've got the 25th anniversary of WrestleMania X7. You know, April 1st, 2021. We got some stuff on it about that. Right? And then, let's see, and then we can, let's see. So then July 22nd, Wednesday, July 22nd, it's a That's a Shoot 25th anniversary of the WWE Invasion. I'm gonna review that pay-per-view. I'm gonna watch it in full and review it for you guys. Just look back on it. And then let's see. We got some other things here. And then November 18th. That was November 18th was the Survivor Series, and that was when we had the whole invasion stuff ended. And we're gonna talk about that, and we're gonna look back at the whole invasion as a whole. Talk about some of the more pivotal moments, some of the more interesting moments of the whole thing. Talk about maybe some of the fails. Go into a almost a deep dive of things to talk about that invasion. So, and what would come from it afterwards as well. So this year's gonna be a lot. Like I said, there's gonna be a lot of YouTubers who are gonna be doing 25th anniversary content for the end of Nitro and the end of WCW. I'm not gonna be the only one, so you're gonna have a bunch to choose. But if you choose to watch mine as well, along with the other ones, I personally truly appreciate that. So, this being the first stop on the 25th anniversary train, let me know what you think. Post your comments down below. What were you? Answer that guy's question. What do you remember? What did you think of it then? Were you watching it? Were you alive then? I know there's a lot of people out there that wasn't alive back then. 25th anniversary. That's after 25 years. Were you even born then? So there's been a lot of questions that you may have. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer them, and if not, as always, Google AI. I think. But yeah, it's just a lot of. It's gonna be a lot of reminiscing this year, and again, like I said, I'm gonna be doing a review of it, and I am gonna try to do something. Now, I don't know if I can do it on my Kick and my Twitch. I don't know if I can do it that on there, because, I see all the time, people on Kick and Twitch, they watch TV shows all the time. And they don't get strikes or channels deleted. I don't want any channel to be deleted. I really don't. Especially like YouTube. I know you can't do it on YouTube. I may do something for Patreon. Even though I don't, but maybe that's what I will do. I will watch something for Patreon, have it up, do all that good stuff, and then we can talk about it another time. Alright guys, thank you guys so much for watching. This is your boy, AJTRIP, signing off. As always, be good to each other, y'all. Be careful out there. And I am out.